Hello and welcome to today's lesson on conversions. I'm going to do 3 examples here and show you how you can convert pretty much anything. So my first example, I want to convert 136 centimeters into inches. Okay, so here's, I think, the easiest way to do these kinds of questions. I take my starting quantity and I write it as a fraction over 1. And then I'm going to use what's called a conversion factor. So in the conversion factor, what I got to do is look at something to do with centimeters, and I want to cancel off centimeters, so I'm going to put centimeters on the bottom, and I would like to convert into inches, and so I'm going to put inches on the top. Now what I got to do is look on my formula sheet and see how do inches and centimeters relate. Well, on the formula sheet it says 1 inch is the equivalent of 2.54 centimeters. So now my conversion factor is complete. And if you use the units to guide you, it makes it really clear that you've set it up correctly. See, here you got centimeters on top. Here you got centimeters on the bottom. Actually, I'm just going to change colors for this so it's more dramatic. Centimeters will cancel because one's on the top, one's on the bottom, and the only units left are inches, which means that I've correctly converted it so that my answer is in inches. So now how do I do the math? Well, on the top I have 136 times 1, so basically 136 on the top, and on the bottom I have 1 times 2.54. So all I'm really going to do now is take 136 and divide it by 2.54, and that converts this nicely into inches. So there we go, working to 2 decimal places. All right. Let's move on to my second example. Now this one's a little bit more complicated. In this case, we want to take 50,000 inches and we want to convert that into kilometers. So I start off exactly like I did the other example. I'm going to write this as a fraction over 1. And then I got to figure out my first conversion factor. Now I want to get out of the world of inches. So I go, okay, let's put inches on the bottom so that it will cancel. But there is no conversion that I'm aware of inches directly into kilometers. So I'm going to have to do this with a couple of steps. So what I can do is convert inches into yards. So let's see what that does for us. So we can look it up. 1 yard is equivalent to 36 inches. Now this would get us out of inches and into yards. So now I'm going to throw in another conversion factor that takes us out of yards and into miles. So this gets us out of yards and into miles. Now if I look it up, 1 mile on the formula sheet is the equivalent of 1,760 yards. And I got to do one more conversion now to get out of miles and into kilometers. So I look that up on my formula sheet and it says 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. So the miles cancel. And there's my remaining units, which is what I want. I want kilometers. All I got to do now is crunch the numbers. So on the top, I have 50,000 times 1 times 1 times 1.609. So I'm basically going to do this on my calculator. Okay, and then I can see, oh, I have to divide that by 1 times 36 times 1760 times 1. So in other words, I have to divide by 36 And I also have to divide, because it's on the bottom, by 1760. So that's the number crunching I'm going to do, and when I did that, I got 1.27, and I am now in kilometers. So that's my second example all done, and I'm ready for my last example. And in this example, we're going to do the following. We're going to take 7.065 miles, and what we want to do is express that in how many miles that is, and in addition, how many yards, and how many feet, and finally how many inches. Okay? Now understand, I'm not doing 4 different conversions. I'm taking this 7.065 miles and saying, oh, that's like 7 miles and 2 yards and 1 foot and 3 inches. Okay? All of these combined have to equal 7.065 miles. Well, first of all, the easy one here is I know this is going to be 7 miles, right? Because it's 7 and a bit miles, so I know it's 7 miles. I just got to figure out the rest of these bits. So what I'm going to do is take the decimal part, 0.065 miles, and see, well, how many yards is that? So I'm going to do my conversion factor to get out of miles and into yards. Now we would look that one up. 1 mile is the equivalent of 1760 yards. So this would get me out of miles and into yards. So what am I doing on the calculator? I'm doing 0.065 times 1760 divided by 1. So when I did that, I got 114.4, and of course I'm now in yards. Okay, so this decimal part here is the equivalent of 114 and a bit yards. So I know up here, oh, that's 114 yards. Now I got to take this decimal part, which is yards, and see what that is in feet. Okay, the next one is feet. So I want to know, okay, let's get out of yards and into feet. I look up in my conversion sheet, 1 yard is 3 feet. So this is going to be 0.4 times 3, gets out of yards and into feet. And I found that to be 2.4. Wait a minute. I mean 1.2. So I was looking at the wrong thing. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I got 1.2. So I know it's 1 and a bit feet. So I know it's 1 foot. Now I got to take this little decimal part here, the 0.2, which is the feet, and see how many inches that is. And so I'm going to get out of the world of feet into the world of inches. The conversion is 1 foot is 12 inches. That gets me out of feet and into inches. And 0.2 times 12 is 2.4. And so that's the amount of inches. And that's where I just leave it with that little decimal, and that's my answer. Okay, with that, I am done. We will catch you later.